Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure every Tuesday evening to come into your homes where we talk sports. And tonight we're going to be talking, as you know, the 24th of November is a big day in Trinidad and Tobago football. That's the TTFA election, which is going to be held on that day to determine who stays and who goes and who new comes in. But before we get into tonight's program, I just want to say condolences to the family of Gerard Figaro, one of our great footballers or legends from the 70s, who I think he was in the 1973 team, passed away recently, and we want to say condolences to his family, and also to Dave Lamy, a very brilliant man in the sport, in the field of broadcasting and sports. He passed away just a couple of days ago. Again, to his family, condolences. Let's get straight into our show tonight. We're going to be talking the elections, and I have on the set the president and the first vice president of the United TTFA, the team that is going to be challenging David John Williams and Mr. Ferguson for leadership of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Federation. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure, Mr. Wallace.
Hi. Pleasure to be here.
I know you were here the last time around. Yes. But this is a different time now. Mr. Wallace, my first question to you, you have run a very successful SSFL league. You have gathered sponsorship, it's on television, it's brilliant. I know that you sleep well at night. You are going to take on an initiative that you are inheriting a large debt. And there are so many things at present. Our football is at the lowest. What made you decide to leave your comfort zone, sleeping well, running this SSFL, everything going smooth, to come into the TTFA to take charge?
Pleasant good evening to viewers in Trinidad and Tobago. And pleasant good evening to you.
Yeah.
Pleasure being on your show. That question has been asked of me a couple of times, and I'm still trying to find the answer. What I can tell you today, this evening, is that we have this disconnect in football. We operate in silos, so the SSFL is in one little group, and another group here, and another group here.
Yeah.
And from where we sit, we are too small a country to be operating in silos. We need an integrated approach to football in Trinidad and Tobago. And being president of the SSFL and the success that we have more or less experienced over the last couple of years, I almost sat down one day and I felt, it is kind of little. Why shouldn't we try to somehow impact the bigger picture? Because it's all about football, and it should be one approach, one collective approach, and we can't be selfish. And therefore, that helped me to make a decision as to what we at the SSFL can bring to national football. To that end, I made a clarion call, actually, to Mr. Williams when he got into office, that the SSFL stands ready to help in whatever way we can. Some weeks after I got the response, I was so glad to get the response. And he said, Mr. Wallace, you have been talking and asking, we want to meet with you now. I said, gladly. The meeting was set up within 2 days, and my team met with the FA, all the technical persons who were present in that meeting, and the meeting was quite a good one, actually. And we were saying that we basically dealing with youth football in Trinidad and Tobago. One, we have the facilities, we have a safe environment in schools, we have the players with us all day. Let us try to capitalize on that. So, as I said, the meeting ended well, and MOU was drawn up and sent to us. The MOU was recalled probably a couple of days after it was sent. And since then, which is probably 2 years ago, we are still waiting to receive the MOU. So that signaled to us that our intent was not the intention of the powers that be. Okay. And that they felt that a different approach was what should probably take place. And that probably we were not important enough to be part of that approach. And that stayed with me because I still hold the view and will continue to hold the view that we cannot operate in silos and that we have to do this thing together. And again, that also inspired me to think about looking at trying to get into the mainstream of football at this level. But more than that, when I looked at what happened to football over the last 4 years, that also was important in my decision making. I mean, I made a point, and I made a point on Saturday when we had our launch. When as members, and I attended member meetings, we have to fight to get information. We promise information. We ask about contracts. Yes, there's a contract. Next meeting, you will get a contract. No contract. Up to today, information, you can't get information. When a member has to take you to court, a member that is entitled to information has to take you to court to get that information, it tells me, and it should tell the whole of Trinidad and Tobago and the football fraternity, we are in a bad, bad place. And again, that was one of the things that spurred me on. I mean, if we have to take this thing forward, transparency, a collective approach, membership feeling that they are part of an organization, all these things have to be in place for us to move forward. And if at the end of the day, after 4 years, all I can boast of is putting up a building, and I want to say something on the building. Beautiful. The idea is beautiful, except that, of course, we have been asking as members for a business plan. What is the business plan? What it looks like? What are your projections? I mean, we have to know about occupancy rate. I mean, we have to sustain this building.
Yes.
Even when your teams go into the building, there's a cost attached to that.
Yeah.
You have to pay personnel. I mean, even that we can't get. Again, you can't think that all the ideas and information in this world comes from just your head. And that is the difference with the United T and TFA. We are looking to Trinidad and Tobago. We are embracing everybody. If you come to me, I think you have a wonderful idea. We discuss that. Yeah. It has to go through a channel, of course, because the board, for example, is very important to the organization. A board that was ignored over the last 4 years. All the institutions were ignored. The board was ignored. The constitution was ignored. And therefore, these are the things that made me stood up and say, yes, I have to answer the call. And there were people, of course, encouraging me to step into the ring, answer the call. I mean, yes, we can boast of a beautiful building. I just mentioned to you that there's no business plan, etc., etc. But our core function is football.
Yeah.
And while the building was going up, our football was going down. And right now, as far as I'm concerned, it reached a rock bottom. And for us to move from here on in, I mean, just think about pre-2015 when we were able to play Mexico in the Gold Cup, drew with them. Mexico was not happy with that. They invited us to Salt Lake City, but they wanted to prove the point that this was just an aberration. It wasn't real. We went there and drew again. I think it was 4-4, right? So, I mean, the team was, we were doing something. We were moving. We were full in the stadium. We played USA here and people were fainting in line to get into the stadium. 20,000 people. We had a qualifier recently with selling 78 cover stand tickets. The football has plummeted. It has reached a rock bottom. Those are the many reasons why I think that we have to change this. And I just can't talk the talk. Sometimes you have to walk it. And I decided to walk the walk.
Because I looked at the launch on Saturday morning, and I'm going to be honest with you, you know, people tend to say in election time, they're all sweet promises. People promise a lot, you know, and we see all these different things on the table. But the good thing about it is that you showed where letters of support. It wasn't just that you say, well, okay, Nike is coming into the country to do X, Y, and Z. You showed, you know, the letters there supporting the United TTFA. Now, there's a lot to be done in football. And I first want to compliment your slate, your first Vice President, Clynt Taylor, Susan Warwick, the Wolf President, Sam Phillip, Tony Harford. All these are names that people know and have shown what their interest is in football is all about. You know, so, I mean, well done on the slate. Now, let's talk a bit about your plans, right? And Clynt, you could jump in at any time.
Yeah.
Feel free to jump in at any time. November the 24th, United TTFA wins the election. What is your time frame? What are your plans? What are your major plans? Because I know that you cannot do everything at the same time. So there are things that you're going to have to set on a priority basis. So what are the plans that you are going to tackle first and foremost?
Well, the thing is that because of the very lack of information, we don't know what we are going to meet when we get in there on the 25th. So the first thing that we have to do is basically information gathering. Information that we should have and information that we as the United TNTFA would have for the public to see. This is Trinidad and Tobago football. You must be able to go up on your website and find things.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask questions all the time. Of course, there are things that you need to keep private and so on, or quiet, or you can't let out to the public. But generally speaking, you must be able to find things, get a quick answer to things. So we have to first do information gathering. That's the first and major thing. After the information gathering, that would direct us as to where we have to go. We can't go in and make promises, no, that we're going to do this and that without information. All right, it's election time. I'm not going to stand up here and fool anybody that we are going to do X, Y, and Z without information. So we have to, as you have seen, for example, let me just say this to you, that what you saw on Saturday would not have come in 1 week or 1 day or 1 month.
Definitely.
Right?
We spoke about that.
Right, right? That would have been months and months of work. All right? The same thing is going to happen here. We are going to go in, we are going to gather information, we are going to keep the public abreast of things, and then, therefore, of course, we have a general framework in place in terms of where we go, but that will be directed by information that we gather.
Now, we see a lot of things happening in zonal football, women's football. You spoke about Tobago being on the forefront too. What are some of the initiatives that you're going to take to get our football back up to an acceptable level? Because right now we are, as you said, we are ground level. Right? So what are some of the plans that you all may have up front that you can, you know, let the public know?
Well, if you would have noticed that one part of our presentation on Saturday was our whole technical approach. That was clear to people. In terms of accountability, our administrative was also, we actually showed people what we would look like in terms of that. But more or less, the technical part of it. One of the problems that we think we have in Trinidad and Tobago football right now is accountability. People taking responsibility. I give you a job to do, and if you are not performing the job, after evaluation and after giving you an opportunity to come up to scratch, if you don't come up to scratch, decisions have to be made. It is as simple as that. Our rise again must be hinged on a proper program. It has to be hinged on the right people to behind those programs. How do we evaluate coaches before we assign them to teams? There are coaches in Trinidad and Tobago that we know, for example, that are very good youth coaches. And then we have persons who can coach at the senior level. But you have to be able to do a proper audit on your coaches, know strengths and weaknesses, know who are the ones that you are supposed to put with your young players. For example, I'm using this as a perfect example of what I'm saying. We have under 15 outfit that has been training for over 2 years. That would be the longest any coach would have had a team or a group of people together training in Trinidad and Tobago. And I sit here saying that I was disappointed with the under 15 performance during the last tournament. And then at the end of it, you're hearing that, well, this is developmental. It was developmental for all the other countries that we played against. It's same thing. And if I am sure, and I read it, that we were the ones who would have had the most preparation. We had the talent. We had time to prepare. What happened? It is possible that we had the wrong persons around the team. All right? So these are the things that we have to look at. The first step, having the right people driving your programs, the right people driving your team. So that is crucial for us if we have to take this thing back up from where it is. We have to start at the base. The zones, for example, the zones for us, in my view, is the base of the pyramid called football. It amazes to see that zones are, at this point in time, are just basically voting blocks. The phones, I don't know. And I think this is something we have to discuss, of course. As I said, this is not about just me making or trying to impose my own personal view on things. There are times I have to stand up and say, yes, this is what we should do. Because I have to take responsibility here.
Because at the end of the day,
I have to take responsibility. But basically, my point is, I must be able to convince people around me that what I am saying makes sense. You have zones, they have to pay an affiliation fee to the FA. They have to find money to pay referees. They have to organize the clubs in the. What is the purpose of a zone? In my view, a zone is a critical part of the TNTFA operations. And if we're talking about widening the base and diluting the base to be able to attract and get the best players, the zones must play a critical role in that. So I can't have somebody that I want to play a critical role in my organization that I'm not helping in any way. As a matter of fact, they are paying me. Every year they have to pay me, actually. That's something I think that we should get rid of. We have to get in. We have to support the zones, because that is the base of the pyramid. Without that broad base, we are going nowhere. We have to get into the zone, support them. In my presentation on Saturday, you notice some of the things that we would bring to the zones. We are going to bring, for example, we have the small goal arenas, futsal small goal arenas, that we think we can. We are bringing 6 of those to the zones. Each zone, 6 over a period of time. All you have to do is to find wherever you want us to put it down. And this is one way of empowering the zones. You can rent that out, you can get money coming into the zones. We have to start to look at a zone like South, for example, massive zone, South FA. 5 clubs, active clubs. Something has to be wrong with that. What help have you given to the zones? What is the club outreach that you have gone out on? I mean, these are the things that must happen to be able to bring this thing back. And that's why we're talking about a collective approach to our governance.
We need to take a break. When I come back, I want to talk to Clynt, because he'll be in a better position to tell us some of the challenges that you face in the zones. Because we are talking TTFA elections with the United TTFA slate, and we'll be right back after this short break.
As a group, we will seek to learn and understand what futsal really is, what it's about. Is your understanding the same as perhaps our understanding and the broader game as a whole? But importantly, we will also consider how futsal is a strategic development tool for the development of young football players.
Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to Scoreboard ACTN. Clynt, you are in charge of Central, right? Central Zone, right? So you can give us a first-hand of what are some of the things that you all had suffered with under the last regime, or for the last 4 years.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, again, and thank you for having us on. I am the General Secretary for Central Football Association and the President, but under the Constitution, I'm also the Chief Executive Officer in that sense. I have an active role in Central Zone, ensuring that the leagues are run, ensuring that the association is run, putting together the structures back into the association. One of the things that I found out within my first few days of coming into the Central Zone is that, and realizing that it is epidemic at the towards the entire association and at the higher level, is there are no structures in place. There are no documented structures in place. People tend to know what should happen, And if I leave, I take my knowledge with me.
Okay.
I can't pick up a book and go and get guidelines on how things should be done. And that is a problem. So it's one of the things I know that we will be challenged with when we get to another level. And it's something that has to be rectified. So that whenever we leave, we are putting a foundation for others to follow. The foundation needs to be set. When we incurred issues, we had to constantly call on individuals who have been there for quote-unquote donkey years to find out what is the way for us to proceed. It shouldn't be that way. Again, there are no structures in place. For us to be able to take something and look at it and be guided by some documentation on how things should take place. So that's one of the problems. The regional associations has not been supported. Of course, we got support because it's an election year, and we got some support, and the support came with a lot of pain. You know, I wouldn't get into the internal mechanics of it, but it really wasn't support. It was a gimmick in our sense. Yes, it did help to plug some small holes, but we needed support 4 years ago.
Okay.
Not only that, the regions have been abandoned. If from the regional association, you get this you get the Super League and the Pro League. If the foundation is not secure, then when you build the roof, it will collapse. And that is what is happening. You cannot generate quality players, quality talented players, players that understand a holistic view of what is required for them to operate at that level, if the base of the building is not secure. And the base has been abandoned, not just CFA, SFA, NFA, EFA, TFA, the Eastern counties. And if people are honest with themselves, they would be able to tell you the same thing that I'm saying and support it. The FA has not been supporting the regional associations. We have been operating basically on our own. And every year we're in a scramble to find money to pay the FA. And for what? What do we get in return?
Yeah.
You know, and it has been sad. It has been challenging. It has been a few years of where I myself, where Mr. Williams probably felt that Central is against him because we speak up about things. And I had to tell him personally a number of times, I'm not against you. If you need a system, I'm here. Just tell me what you want help with. But, you know, people tend to fear the very things that they know they should become. And when they see others are becoming what they should become. And we're not here because we want to get into power and we feel that, you know, it's not about that. We got fed up. We got fed up to the point where we decided, let us get up and make a difference. Let Trinidad and Tobago and the footballing public for once get a group of individuals who will say what they mean what they say, and make a genuine effort at fixing this. We need help. We need to fix this. This is not just about Mr. Wallace and myself and Keith Lucloy and Tony Harford. This is about us as a country, us as a people, what we are doing for the younger ones. Look at the crime rate in Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah. If we fail, that is going to go up. The statistics will show that when you have a functioning sporting facility and footballing facilities, the young ones gravitated, and it helps to give them direction. We are responsible. We have our part to play in giving direction to the young men and women in Trinidad and Tobago. And when the FA fails, everything else fails, and then we become responsible. So this is why we are here. The regions have been abandoned. And under this administration, for once I can tell you, in the last history as far as I can remember, the regional associations will be given what is required to do what they have to do to support the Football Association.
So basically, let me just add to that. It's basically we have to redefine the role of the regions.
Yes. Okay.
We have to redefine the role, and we have to empower the regions. Basically, at the end of the day, that has to happen. If we have to take this thing.
I know you mentioned Tobago, and for a lot of us, Tobago seems to have been left out of football for a number of years because, I mean, when you look at selection on national teams, right, how many players from Tobago do you see? You know, how many times do you hear there is a screening in Tobago? So that was good, breath of fresh air to hear what you talk about Tobago and also the women's football, because that has been having these challenges for quite a while, and we heard a lot of the footballers, you know, female footballers coming out and talking. Some of them has claimed victimization because of they coming out and talking. So let's talk a bit about the plans for women's football.
Women's football, as far as we are concerned, again, you mentioned it, you actually said everything that is that exists right now in terms of how it is treated, the complaints and so on. It's almost like a bastard child. You know, we want to pay attention to women's football, and the world is paying attention to women's football. All right. For example, Nike has a special campaign for women's football, and we are hoping that when Nike comes on board, that campaign would help us to generate income and everything else to expand the game. SSFL, we have been the beacon, as far as I am concerned, of women's football in Trinidad and Tobago. When you look around the country, you look at Wolf, for example, how many clubs do you have actually playing with Wolf in that Wolf League? My thing is that the schools are critical and crucial in the expansion of the game, more so in women's football. So in terms of the direct relationship between the organization that runs women's football and the schools, that must happen. Tobago, for example, spoke to me recently, and they are saying there are no, we have girls football in Tobago, but there are no age group football. They have one level. So that is the young ones who move from primary school find themselves in a space for quite a long time before they can get to that level. That is something we have to fix. That is something we have to fix. All right? So we are listening to people. And I am at the SSFL that was raised by Tobago. All right? So we need to now think about how we can bridge the gap with these young girls coming out of primary school, giving them an opportunity to play, all right, before they can probably represent the school at another level. This whole thing about competition, we may have to restructure that, because it's not about, we have to define where we have competition and where we have total development, all right? For example, just taking it a bit to, let's look at a under-14 team, boys team, for example. Should we have players sitting on a bench all season and not playing because the coach wants to get the best team to win a trophy? Everybody's supposed to play. So we have to be able to now define that.
You're talking development, I mean.
Definitely. But then that takes, you have to now have dialogue with the school league. That's why I'm saying we can't operate in a vacuum. We have to define the role of the school league. Of course, with the members of or the administration of the school league. This is the role we want you to play. How could you play this role? And let us work out the mechanism of that. Understand? So that we can bridge all the gaps that we have now. We have too many gaps. And that is why the development is happening, but we're stuttering here and there. You're not getting the quality players that you were getting before. I always believe that the association of any sports must play a critical role in developing the player. You can't leave it to by chance or leave it for somebody else to do. And if somebody else is doing it, you have to be in touch with that person. Because at the end of the day, the product that comes out of whoever that entity is a product that you have to embrace. And you want the right product to come to you. So you have to play some role in developing that product. You can't just sit aside and wait and say, well, I'm waiting to see what happens, give you all the work to do, no support, and then at the end of the day, you grab the product. You may not very well get the product that you want to get. Understand?
Now, I know you said that only when you all go in, you will know the true picture of what is happening. But you all are aware that there's a huge debt, right? How do you all intend to service that debt and still run the football affairs with the teams, whatever competitions they have to enter and things like that? How you all plan to go into that? Because we know it's a huge debt.
Yeah. And one of the major things is that we are thinking about projects. Money would come to the FA, and of course we need to have operational monies. So you can't really think about using too much of your operational money to service debt. People tend not to want to give sponsors, they not want to give money to deal with debt. So one of the things that we have done when we reach out to our foreign partners, that was one of the things that we raised. And in my presentation on Saturday, there's a particular company that have more or less signed a non-disclosure agreement after the 24th with us. Okay. We're going to come in with substantial sums towards trying to deal with the debt. But more than that, we need to have projects. So, for example, we are having conversations with clubs in England, for example, to come to Trinidad and Tobago. All right? And as I mentioned Tobago here, it will be critical because we want Tobago now to probably have a team in training in Tobago. So that when clubs come in, because we kind of tie in this thing with sports tourism, for example. Yes. So this is something that we have to sit with the Tobago House of Assembly and talk to them about and get them to buy in, because we have 3 travel companies on board as sponsors, standing by and ready. So we have the personnel there to be able to help us with this project. Bring teams in, play a Tobago team, play a Tobago 11, and then come to Trinidad and play a Trinidad 11 or Trinidad and Tobago 11. You understand? Bring that full stadiums. Full stadiums. One of the first things we would do is try to get Corporate Trinidad to buy out a state, bring a big game, and get the Corporate Trinidad to buy out all the tickets. This is your contribution to this, and get our fans back. So we are doing 2 things there: getting Trinidad, the corporate to get involved, buy the stadium out, but at the same time, you are bringing the fans back, but you don't have to pay for a ticket.
Do you see it as a difficult position getting the corporate Trinidad and Tobago and the fans back into football, because basically the fans have turned their back on football? And most of the businesses, because we used to see long time huge business in Trinidad and Tobago supporting football, that has gone up.
But there are 2 things for that, and we're talking about bringing the fans back. You have to have a quality product to bring the fans. I mean, we have to be fair. I'm not coming in the statement to look at something that would burn my eyes. So you have so we need to work on that, and we spoke about that before. Getting corporate back in, the statement I made, which is critical, you cannot, nobody would want to come into football if members have to take you to court to get information. That's critical. So it's a new form of governance that we are coming into, something open, transparent, and in addition to that, because we have these sponsors overseas who have shown faith in us and who are going to support us, we are hoping that would encourage sponsors, local sponsors, to get on board. As a matter of fact, one of the sponsors that we have in IMR, what they actually do is that they are going to come in to give us service. They are big, over 20 years. What they do is that all your sponsors, they are the ones who seek the interests of sponsors and the entity that is being sponsored. So that is a body now that is going to encourage sponsors to come on board, because the sponsors know they are going to get their just due. But there is a watchdog group here that is going to make sure that we deliver our side of the arrangement and so on. So the sponsors get their just due. You know? So we have more or less think about almost everything. Of course, we still open to information from Trinidad and Tobago, from everybody. Actually, the man on the street, the fan, we are open to that kind of information. Come to us, and we have already gotten so much feedback with people who want to help. All right, there are people who are professional people who have, after Saturday, we have gotten so many texts and phone calls of people who want to help. So there are people in Trinidad and Tobago who want to help. Why aren't they coming on board now? Probably the door is shut. And therefore they are seeing where this entity seems to be open, and therefore they are willing to come in and help. So that is where we are at.
We need to take another break. When I come back, I want to talk a bit about Keith Lecloy, because had it not been for Keith Lecloy, would you all be sitting here, you know, talking or going up to the challenge for the leadership of the PTFA? Viewers will be right back after the short break.
We from those encounters together, and this was a North-South game to open the season.
So the team might be playing well, as we always say with Trinidad and Tobago.
Futsal did that great for me.
Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, I'm your host.
As a group, we will seek to learn and understand what futsal really is, what it's about. Is your understanding the same as perhaps our understanding and the broader game as a whole? But importantly, we will also consider how futsal is a strategic development tool for the development of young football players.
Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to Scoreboard on ACTN. If you're now joining us and you miss any part of this program, remember there is a repeat tomorrow at 1 p.m. Gentlemen, the name Keith Lukloy has been at the forefront of this whole battle for the last 4 years. Would you all be willing to state that because of Keith Lukloy, this is one of the main reasons why you all have come forward? Because he has opened a lot of our eyes to certain things that is happening.
Just before I answer that, I just want to back up to the historic debt because I was kind of sidetracked a bit with that. And basically, I was talking about the approach just to trying to deal with that debt.
Okay.
And what we are doing and what we will be doing is a project-based approach. We are using projects to be able to raise money to be able to pay off that debt. And we already have projects in mind. Okay. Of course, we have the little logistical things to do, which is calling in our creditors and so on, sitting with them, trying to get them to write off part of the whole the monies and so on. At least part of. So those little logistics things we will do, but we are definitely going to approach this whole thing on a project-based basis. All right. And of course, as I said, we have projects in mind. Already have projects in mind to do that. Coming to Keith Lukloy seemed to be the elephant in the room, and I made the point on Saturday that people are afraid of Keith Lukloy. Why are you afraid of Keith Lukloy? And I asked the question, what did he do wrong? I mean, asking for transparency, asking for accountability, asking for information that we are entitled to. I mean, and the sad thing about this is that there are many persons who want to get the same information, afraid to ask for it, and somebody's asking on their behalf and still the person is condemned. What did he do wrong? And Keith Lukloy has, his knowledge is in terms of technical things especially. I mean, you can't fault him for that. And one of the things that we have said, we invited everybody in the room who wanted to bring about change in Trinidad and Tobago football. It wasn't just those persons you saw in the room. We had people sitting with us who you may not have seen, we were not at the forefront here. So we invited everybody. And we are still saying that we are inviting all of Trinidad and Tobago to be part of this rebuilding, because football belongs to Trinidad and Tobago. Keith Lukloy is a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore, if we are saying we are inviting all to help, why should he be excluded? And the point that you made about us sitting here, I also made that point, that because of his act, it galvanized us into action. Because we were there, we were at the meetings when the answers didn't come, when we got frustrated in meetings, and people asked 47 questions with no answers. 47 questions. The sad thing about that, if I could laugh about it too also, is that very person who asked those 47 questions, with absolutely no answers given, that person is now running as a vice president to the person who did not answer the questions. But it tells you something about what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago, that it is quick for us to put aside. We don't have to get the answer if we can be given something else, an opportunity in another place. It is time for people who have a conviction, who believe in something, to stand up. And I think this is what Lukloy has done, and this is what gave birth to this group of people who have the same conviction that we have to stand up. It is easy for me to stay in my comfort zone, SSFL, for the next couple of years.
Yeah, we're sleeping good in the night.
Very good. And I sleep well in the night. But this whole thing is more than that. It's about Trinidad and Tobago. And this game means a lot to us. And I am seeing the pain. I'm hearing the pain when people call you, when people call me to talk. I'm hearing it. And if I really care about my country, this is the time to step up.
Clynt, anything you want to share with us?
Just simply to say, you know, as Mr. Wallace has pointed out, Keith Lucklow has seemed to be the person who everybody is easy to beat up on. But he's someone who has a passion. He may not always agree with his approach. But one thing I can tell you about him, he's genuine about what he believes in. He's not doing this because he could have offered himself up for presidency or insist that he needed a role.
Yeah.
But he made a decision to take the mantle and then to pass it on. He will be continuing in his battle to ensure that transparency and the football gets somewhere in Trinidad and Tobago. And I know even if we are doing things that...
Well, I was just about to say that.
that may seem to be contrary to what is right.
He's going to come out.
Keith would not be silenced.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Mr. Wallace beckoned him and advised him and encouraged him to keep us in check if we are going wrong. Because you need that.
Yeah.
You need constructive criticism.
Correct.
And you have to take it for what it is. And if the prior individuals understood that Keith was not their enemy, Keith was just trying to get from where we are to take us forward, they would have done better. You know, and so Keith, like him or hate him, he's a necessary part of this moving forward. And that is what we need. We need individuals like him also to help us to rise up.
Okay. So Wallace, what are the plans for the home of football? Because that's really, it's a hotel, right? And it's a place where revenue is supposed to be generated if utilized properly. What are your plans, you know, for that building?
All right, the building is there. It has to be used. I mean, of course, I can go back to saying that we had our concerns in terms of the very building, the way it was done, in terms of not knowing who doing what as members. Well, that probably has passed. We asked for a business plan. We haven't seen one. That too is something that we would have to deal with. There's a cost to running the building. We have commercial rates to pay in terms of light bill and water and a host of other things. General maintenance and upkeep. The building is there. It can be used. We have already had a partner who is willing to come in and finish the hotel if needs be.
Okay.
That's one. And to have a joint venture approach going forward with us.
Like a
partnership, profit sharing approach, so that the FA would think. To me, from where I sit, I think that may be a good approach because we are not into the hotel business. We are about focusing on football. We have seen we're focusing on one thing. A building has taken our football. If we continue to focus on that same building to run it as a hotel, our football will go further down the drain. So we need to take back the football, focus on the core function of the FA, and get people who can run the hotel to run the hotel. Again, that's my thoughts on that. But we are not going to just do this. We are going to liaise with our stakeholders. We have a membership. So we are going to sit with that membership and say, this is what we are bringing to the table. Let's hear what you think. All right? And what we want to do is use these structures as outlined in the Constitution. And you know, if you use those structures and guidelines, you know, you wouldn't run into trouble. You have a board. This new constitution, the constitution that was put in place in 2015 was put here for a purpose. You know? It was put here to take away that power from the president, that he alone can make decisions. That is why a board was formed. You have representatives from all over. And if you follow the constitution, and this is supposed to go to the board for ratification or go to the board, you wouldn't run into trouble. What we have to do is to populate our board with the right people. And we are going to ask these zones to help us in that respect. All right. So, for example, we need some professional people on the board. We are going to ask the zone, yes, It is your right to send somebody, but work with us. We need to get an accountant on the board, for example, or a legal person. Work with us and help you to source that person within your zone who is willing to come. So we need to populate the board with powerful people. All right? Our board, the board was bypassed in many instances. Decisions made by emergency committee and all these kind of things. We can't continue to govern like that. You understand? So we are going to make sure that our board is populated with people who are going to be there. And when a decision is made by the board, you know it's a decision made by good brain power. Right? That is one of the things that we want. I'm not afraid of that. Because if we have to move forward, this is how we have to move forward. It is not about William Wallace, about Clynt Taylor. It's about football. All right? And wherever we can get the help, we will take it. So we are going to put some structural arrangements in place, like the board, for example. And, of course, wherever help comes from after that, of course, we are willing to embrace. We are willing to listen. So the hotel, we have somebody who is willing to come in, a joint venture partnership, finish the hotel if needs be, and we move forward. All right? So, as I said, that is going to be discussed in membership. We don't know if money is owing on the hotel. We don't have a clue. So there are things, as I said, we
Are we going to get the answers to all the questions that Keith Lucloy was asking for and the public wasn't able to get?
Well, definitely. That is how we decide to govern. We are going to get the answers. The public is going to know. And you know, we are going to be back in the public at some point in time. After we have done our information gathering, we are going to be back in the public. The public needs to know where we are starting from. So if we start with a debt of $60 million, people, this is where we are starting. And you know, I think that approach alone would probably garner some kind of support even from corporate Trinidad and Tobago. We are open, we coming to you. This is Trinidad and Tobago football. This is not, yes. And this is where we had 60 million. We have to, this thing has to survive. What can you contribute to the survival of this? Right? And that's our approach to governance.
One of the major revenue earner in sports is TV rights. And I saw that you had a representative there talking about TV rights. Is that a done deal, or there is still things to be worked out?
Well, of course, there are things to be worked out. That is a party that has thrown its support behind the United TNTFA. They have thrown their support, and they are willing, of course, to come on board. Of course, I know there are other entities that may very well be willing to come on board. Of course, that is something that we have to look at. And of course, at the end of the day, what we're trying to get is the best deal for football in Trinidad and Tobago. You're not just going to tie down yourself with an entity because the entity came to you first. We are going to open that to discussion because that is a major part of revenue earning as far as we are concerned. So that is something, it is not a done deal. There's no contract signed. At the end of the day, we would look for the best deal vis-a-vis football. If at the end of the day nobody else comes forward, and then you have to go with what you have to go with. That is how it is, you know. But that is where we are with that. You know, importantly, one of the things that we want to do in terms of monetization of the stadiums, and the minister recently spoke about the stadiums becoming self-sufficient. We can't continue to maintain these big buildings. The whole Nike coming in, because Nike wants to be able to go into one of the stadiums.
I heard you talk about a retail store.
A retail store. And they also want to come in. When they come in, other stores would come in. And it
just takes one.
It just takes one, and that is a big name. And you know, you attract other brands around you. If you could get this and have a hub of activity going in your stadium, I mean, you're talking the kind of trickle-down effect that has in terms of the FA. I want to say this on air this evening too. There is a company who has indicated they have come to Trinidad. They looked at the Arima Stadium. They're willing to come in with their own funds, break it down, put up a new structure for businesses, you know, in collaboration with the FA. That is something I did not speak to at the launch, but that is somebody who is really willing to come in. But of course, we have to go through the corporation, government, etc. A bit of preliminary talk has already started with the mayor of Arima. They're very happy with what she's hearing. So there are people out there willing to help. Of course, there are business people. They are seeing business opportunities and so on. We can't stop that from happening. What we have to focus on is what comes to the FA. And then there are people in our society who feels that the first thing they tell you is that if somebody's coming in and there's profit sharing and you are getting 50% and the person is getting 50%, they seem to think that that person is getting too much, you know? And it's a kind of thinking, you had nothing before. You suddenly get in, somebody took all your risk. Yeah. You suddenly get in 50%, but you are concerned about what the person who took all your risk is getting. We have to get away from that. We have zero at this point in time. So we have to be able to manage those things properly. All right? And in terms of our international arrangement, we have persons out there who are going to seek our interest in those things. They manage our whole approach to sponsorship, for example. You know, they are going to manage that for us. So we are not going to do this thing alone. We are going into this with professional help because we need to have that.
How confident are you all that the 25th of November, you all will be, we just have about 3 minutes remaining, you all will be in charge of football in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, it's up to the delegates. Okay. If what we have brought to the table is not enough to have people who love the game say, well, yes, at this point in time, I think the current administration has done the best that they could have done, and therefore we have a group of people who have now come in with that fresh breath of air here, who are coming with other things to the table to take it from where it's at now. If they don't think that that is necessary, then vote the status quo back into office. If they think what we are bringing will be able to move the football another step forward, we have presented ourselves to them. So it's up to the delegates on the 24th of November.
Clynt, 30 seconds.
Well, similarly, I share the same type of sentiments. We've gone out. We have been doing some groundwork, not just on the 2nd, when we had the launch. We've been doing some groundwork before, and generally people are tired. They're fed up of what has been taking place, and they want to change. Somebody sent in a text us, and they were so overwhelmed that finally they're seeing a light. People are genuinely concerned. And it's not a matter of knocking Mr. Williams. He may have, this is probably the best he could have done. And it's time to pass on the mantle to different people who can take it a step forward. Maybe one day somebody will say, we can do better than what we can do, and we have to pass it on. But we think it's time for change, and it should happen. It begins with us.
Gentlemen, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Hey, George.
Well, viewers, we have come to the end of another edition of Scoreboard here on ACTN. We were talking to William Wallace, the president of the United TTFA, and his first vice president, Clynt Taylor. And you heard all what they had to say. You, the public, you will make that decision. Are you comfortable with what's going on, or do you want to see change? It's as simple as that. The choice is yours. You have a choice to make, right? We see what's happening with football. We hear every day the cries of the normal supporters. So, I mean, this is your opportunity to decide what you want to do. Do you want to keep? Do you want to change? What do you want? So again, as I said, if you miss any part of this program, remember there's a repeat tomorrow at 1 p.m. Enjoy the balance of the week. Join me next week, Tuesday, at the same time for another edition of Scoreboard, right here on ACTN.